I don't even know what I'm gonna title this video, but this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, and I've made a similar one back when I was still doing the whole evidence channel thing, which was way before I even met the person that I'm kind of gonna be thinking about while making this video. But I mean, this is kind of a big issue in the quote-unquote homeless community that I've noticed since really not my first month, maybe no, that was my first month, or either my second one, I don't even know, but my first or second month being in the state that I've been in. And it's that the women have really, really bad judgment. And I'm trying to figure out how to break this down into something that makes sense and also isn't really long, because I don't want this to turn into a rant. But something that I've noticed is that I don't even think I can say that word, but I'll just say essay because I don't really know if I may get a flag or whatever it's called, because I know there's a lot of what's that called, censorship. But in the homeless community, essay is like a big issue. But something that I noticed way back when is that a lot of the women out here had really, really bad judgment. And so they hang around obvious weird people. And I mean, even the dudes have bad judgment. And they hang around people who 9 out of 10 are convicted molesters and stuff anyway. Because I know at the shelter, the reason that the kids in the family shelter can't come outside is because so many of the people here are convicted molesters and stuff. I don't even know if I can say that word either, but yeah, so anyway, the women specifically, because that's what I seen, wait a minute. I noticed it a lot with the women out here. They have really bad judgment, and it kind of revolves around the whole desperate loneliness thing too, I think. But they not only surround themselves with obviously weird people where you can just look at them and tell that they're molesters, but they keep putting themselves in these same situations where they get assaulted over and over again by the same people. And then they'll also tell other people to hang out with the dude or whatever, and then that gets other people assaulted, even though the dude's obviously weird. And when I was staying on this mountain cliff some months and months back, last June or something, I had met this dude, and he had actually told me about how the women are always talking about the issue of SA, but some of the ones that are always talking about it are always deciding to get high with random people in their car, and then they get assaulted by that random person that they halfway know but wanted to do drugs with in their car. And of course, I know if anyone was to even really watch this, people are gonna try to start talking about victim blaming and all that, but it's not even about that, because it kind of just goes into what somebody's mindset is that makes them put their safety at risk. Because I learned back in quote-unquote functioning society that hanging out with people and trying to be buddy and stuff really isn't worth it. Especially not with most people, because, well, I don't even want to go into something else because I don't want this to be an hour long, but for one, how do I not make this 2 hours? I'm trying to think of what to say. Okay, so yeah, for one, depending on your trauma symptoms or whatever, and maybe just how you are, you may not even really be friend material. And then there's the whole thing that I also learned about I don't know, I guess myself specifically, which is that I had attachment issues and I just was too clingy, especially to people that halfway even liked me and weren't even really nice to me. And then the third main thing that I noticed with myself, because I used to talk about this all the time when I used to have the evidence channels, is that, okay, what was the third thing? Hold up, I forgot. Hold up. Oh yeah, the third thing was that I was trying to have like quote unquote friendships with people that I really didn't have anything in common with anyway. And so then I wouldn't even really be able to have a conversation with them about anything. So yeah, I learned back in quote unquote functioning society that trying to be buddy with everybody and trying to be quote unquote friends with everybody wasn't worth it at all. And then when you really are in a bad predicament, you look around and you don't see anybody. That's one of the funniest things about it, especially when you're codependent and playing unpaid therapist all the time for people. But before I even go into that rant, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I don't know what in the world makes people think in the homeless community we're like a good amount of people or people who are like running from the police and hiding from the law and stuff. I don't know what makes people in this type of quote unquote community think that this is the community and this is the predicament to be trying to be playing buddy with everybody. Hopefully that made sense because that didn't come out how I wanted it to at all. But if you can't even be buddy with everybody in quote unquote, oh my gosh, functional society, how in the world do you think you can be buddy with everybody in the quote unquote homeless community? And so this goes back to something that just happened. And I don't even want to go too in detail on it because then I'll be somewhere else and then it'll turn into a rant. But it's like, okay, so basically, I asked this lady if she could give me a ride to the store, which I really hate because it's like the thing about being in vulnerable positions, and well, no, let me not even go there. Really, I just rather not have to ask anybody for anything, which is how I usually would try to go about life. But like, due to how bad my physical health has been for the past 5 years and like how it's kind of harder on my physical health now that I have to be like up and about all day, it's kind of hard for me to like get the far places because it's kind of a long walk, and then I'm in pain right now, and I've been in pain just about all day. So this has turned into me having to ask people, not random people, but people that I know enough for rides, which has kind of been really drifty to say the least. Especially because people will say yes 1 minute, but then they'll switch up. But yeah, anyway. So I asked her for a ride, and then when we were walking to her car, then this dude said, "Can I still get a ride?" And then she was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh," or something like that. And then he was far away, so he couldn't hear me. But she was like, "You're being rude, so you think you should get a ride, but he doesn't deserve a ride?" And anyway, to skip forward, because I don't want this to be really long, after she dropped him off where he wanted to go, and he got out the car, she started venting or ranting or whatever you call it. And she was like, "That's what I don't like about men." And that's something that I really hate. Those targeted Jezebel spirit, which of course a male or female can have the Jezebel spirit, but the, what's it called? Oh my gosh. I may have to remake this. Not singling out. Targeting isn't the word I meant to use, so it's really not even that. Gentrifying? Is that... Wait a minute, let me pause this. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even remember what the word is, because I'm just really I'm mad still a little bit about the situation. I can't even really focus. Kind of like the usual video I make. Although I'm usually just more dissociated in general than mad about something. But I've mentioned it before, and it's basically that the highest level of trauma is when you start to try to categorize everybody. So like the people that get on the internet and say all black men or all black women or all men, all women. And like I said before, the real truth is that it's not even a gender thing. If you feel like every time you leave the house you have to worry about getting assaulted or something, that's a sign that you live in a fallen society. It's not even really about a gender. But to get to the point now, he got out the car and then she was like, that's the thing that I don't like about men. And he was making me mad and annoying me because he keeps asking me out. And what else did she say? He keeps asking me out. I've told him no a lot of times before, but I'm kind of out of it. Trying to remember what all she said. She said stuff like this a lot, to be honest. But yeah, basically, she said all that, and I was like, so now you're saying this, but when I said, oh my gosh, or whatever it was that I even said, when you originally agreed to give him a ride, you said that I was being rude, but you already know that he's weird and probably a convicted molester anyway. I mean, you can look at him and tell that. And then I was like, here goes another dude who went from trying to get with me since way before I even met her. I had been seeing him off and on since way before I met this person. And I met her like last October or something. Maybe like somewhere around August. And I had been seeing him just like a couple other people. And that's something that I noticed a lot. When people can't get with me and they see that I'm not stupid enough for that, they go to her. Because we're well, honestly, she's definitely not even the youngest person, but she just looks really young. She's still young, but she's like, there's a couple people out here who are younger than her. But those dudes have probably already been able to get with those other people. So anyway, something that I noticed, well, that we've noticed a lot is that when dudes can't get with me, they try to get with her, and then they just bother both of us. But of course, at the end of the day, half these people are already known to be weird anyway. Honestly, if I'm not mistaken, he may be the dude that a lady was arguing with the other day about how, I don't even know exactly what the situation was, but she was like, oh, you're cool people, and you say you're cool people, but you used to molest my 2-year-old. But that might have been another dude. Probably was, actually, but still, that's kind of just proves my point that half these people out here are like convicted sex offenders and all that anyway. And so, to get to the point, I was like, the women out here have really bad judgment, and you can tell by looking at him that he's weird, and I'm sure you probably already had experiences with him anyway. And it's like, why did you even let him in your car? And then she tried to go back to that, I've had dudes hit me for me saying that they can't have my number. It's like, I mean, honestly. Well, let me not even go there. But she was like, I've had dudes hit me for me saying that they can't have my number, and it's really dangerous to reject the dude. And honestly, I mean, that stuff is true, not because of the gender thing, but because we're living in a fallen society with a whole bunch of broken people with spirits of abandonment and rejection from trauma and all that. And even just because they're weird, and these, not even just the boys, but I mean the girls too, grew up on all types of weird sexual music, and I don't even know if I could say that word, but I'll just say corn. It's like, people have been growing up on corn and weird, crazy media and cartoons for forever now. I'm not saying this as an excuse, but I'm just saying it as a I mean, it's just true. And of course, she has a whole bunch of male trauma anyway, because of like her traumatizing upbringing and all that, and her dad not being nice to her and all that stuff. Because of course, that's what ends up getting. That's what creates these people that run around saying all men, all women anyway. And that's something that I've noticed that I'm really glad and lucky for, if that's even making sense. I've noticed that with the stuff that's happened to me, I haven't assumed that every man is like my mom's boyfriend, which I'm glad I haven't. I haven't assumed that every woman is like my mom, which I'm glad I haven't. Because if I was thinking like that, like a lot of other people are, I don't even know, man. I'd be in a bad predicament if I thought that everybody was like my mom and her boyfriend or my dad or something. Now I'm really glad that I've never been the person to get on the internet talking about some all black men and all that. But yeah, so it's like, why would you even let him in your car? And then that's the thing. People like her do stuff like that over and over again, and they keep putting themselves in these situations. And then she claims, I haven't put myself in any situation. Because that's the thing. When she gets mad about something, when somebody ever tries to, like, just give her advice or just have a conversation with her about where she's going wrong, she won't accept any correction or anything, so she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs or something like that. Or she just gets mad, like she's about to start crying or something. She was like, I don't want any... Wait, what was I saying? Okay, wait, I don't even remember what I last said. So, yeah, I asked her why she even No, I said it... Yeah, okay, I remember now. I mentioned how she keeps putting herself in these situations. And then that's when she was screaming and she was like, I don't put myself in any situation, and women can't be safe these days, and I don't want to be in any situation. I just want people to leave me the F alone. And yeah, I can see how like I'm basically kind of getting myself in another trauma bond situation, because it honestly somewhat reminds me of my mom, but of course this was somebody that I originally met on a Let Me Help You Lunatic type situation, which I already have a video and a whole playlist about how they are. This is actually the person that talked the shelter into letting me in because they were really funny acting with their list, to make a long story short. Actually, no, it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that I thought they checked the ID and I wasn't even actually old enough to live at the shelter at that time. So it was that too, but I also really didn't like institutionalized living. But anyway, this was somebody that I did originally try to avoid for months because I could tell this was going to be a Let Me Help You Lunatic type situation. And I actually met them through this other Let Me Help You Lunatic lady who was basically dragging me around and using me as some type of like pity campaign to get people to donate more to her art program. That's a whole nother story, but that's how I met this person. And then I kind of eventually just gave in because it's kind of like to get away from Let Me Help You Lunatics. You gotta move cities, especially when you meet them while you're in a homeless situation. So it's like you gotta move to another city to get away from them. Then there's all that. And then there's also just the attachment stuff. And I mean, I just really didn't want to be rude. And so I eventually just started to give in. And it went exactly how I thought it would go, to be honest. And that's the thing. These are always the type of people to tell me that I just have trust issues and I just have a bad view on people. But that's the thing, though. Every single time I know that I should just avoid somebody at all costs, and then I end up giving in for whatever reason, things always go exactly how I know they would go. But yeah, to get back to the point, because this is becoming a rant like I didn't want it to. She said all that. She did the whole all men thing and all that. And that's the thing. It's always the people that have never seen a real man or woman that always want to run around saying all men, all women, all black, this, all white, all purple, stuff like that. It's honestly really just annoying for me to hear. And then these are also always the people who are older than me, and then they're intimidated by me because I know, well, quote unquote, I know more. And then they also feel like, it's like a lot of jealousy stuff, but then them also feeling like I'm just the stupid one and they really know more because they've been brainwashed with all this left, right, mind hurting political stuff and all this trauma, feminist or misogynist weird stuff. And it's just all really annoying to me. So, yeah. Still weird though. How are you going to tell me that I'm rude for saying something about you agreeing to give him a ride, but then after he gets out the car, you go on this rant that basically means you didn't want to give him a ride anyway, and then try to excuse the whole situation as if you had to give him a ride because you can't reject dudes these days. You didn't have to give him Jack. And that's the really bad excuse too. I was scared of him, so I let him in my car. You could have just told me you were busy, like how you told me, because eventually, in the end, she said that she didn't even really have time to take me where I needed to go anywhere, because I was trying to go print out some pictures, and she was like, well, I'm on a time limit, so I actually just have to drop you back off at the shelter anyway. And it's like, that sounds like, almost sounds like something my sister would do. And that's the thing. When I get in these types of situations, it's just flashback city. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that, because my phone's overheating, because it's probably like 80 degrees right now and it's hot out here. And this is too long already.